Hi everybody. I want to take the discussion of cholesterol a little bit deeper today. It seems to be an important subject to many people, and I think partly that is because there is a lot of confusion over, high cholesterol, does it do any damage, how do I protect myself from heart disease and all sorts of things. So we're going to have a few discussions on it to put into some context. I was first diagnosed with high cholesterol when I was 25 years of age, and I've had my 60th birthday, so that means for the last 35 years I've really been thinking about this issue. And at the time, my cholesterol was at a level of around about 500, which is in the European Australian scale made me around about 13, which is significantly higher than what is considered average. And so as a result of that, I went and looked at all my options, and over the years my cholesterol is actually modified a little bit. I'm around about 400 now on the US scale, which around about that's around about 10 and a 10.5, something like that in the Australian scale. I don't worry about my cholesterol anymore. I don't take any medication for my cholesterol, and I'm not convinced that my elevated cholesterol is going to cause me a heart attack. So that's my own position on it, based on a lot of research, talking to a lot of researchers in the space. Now, of course, that's quite different from what I'm told, or what people are being told about the need to reduce the cholesterol, which has been promoted really as a result of the fact that cholesterol medication is, and has been for a number of years, the largest selling medication in the world today. And in fact, I find it very interesting because you would have thought that the number one selling drugs today, pharmaceutical drugs we're talking about, are a result of diagnosed diseases. But that's not the case at all. It's been cholesterol lowering medication, and cholesterol is not a disease at all. Cholesterol is merely a statistical marker whether is supposedly some relationship between elevated cholesterol and heart disease. But having high cholesterol is not a disease at all. And in fact, there are many people with high cholesterol that have clean arteries. And yet somehow it's become the number one selling drug for a condition that isn't really a disease at all. And I don't know whether it strikes you as funny, but it certainly strikes me as funny how that can be the case. Okay, so high cholesterol is not a disease. It's merely a statistical marker, and yet the number one selling drug has been cholesterol lowering medication. So that tells you something. So I think it's the ability to sell fear rather than selling a drug to address a real disease condition. Anyway, I want to take a moment to talk about the question of what is cholesterol, what's its importance. And the reality is that if we didn't have cholesterol in the human body, it's been there for millions of years in all animal species, then we would be dead. So we need to respect cholesterol a lot more than we do today, and certainly not fear it. And I've seen many people, driven by fear, reducing their cholesterol down to very low levels through medication, and suffering all sorts of conditions as a byproduct of that, and where literally the cure is worse than the condition. And that's a real important issue. And so I want to put that in some context to say, hey, cholesterol actually your friend rather than something you need to fear. One of the questions that we hear is this question of HDL and LDL cholesterol, which is the supposed good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. And I've never heard of something so absurd. I mean, it's trying to take the discussion down to the lowest layer, and many people are actually somehow take it on board as being some scientific importance. There is no scientific importance here. The reality is that LDL and HDL cholesterol, and they are the two forms of cholesterol, the predominant forms, are really explained very simply this way, that the human body makes around about half a teaspoon of cholesterol every day, and it's mostly made in the liver. And that cholesterol needs to be delivered to all the cells in the human body, because the human body is made up of a whole bunch of tiny little cells that are each independent. They live their own lives, they take on board food, and they off-board waste products and so on, and they take on board cholesterol. And so what we call LDL cholesterol is the cholesterol, the fresh cholesterol that comes from the liver, where it's mostly made, and delivered to the cells, including the human brain, and that's the LDL cholesterol. And when these cells are finished with old cholesterol, because the cells are renovating themselves all the time. You need to think of the little cells in the human body a bit like your own home, whereby you're continuously making renovations and fixing things and so on. The cells are the same. They're always renovating, okay? And cholesterol is a major building block for each cell. It's used quite throughout the cell. And so what happens is they need to onboard fresh cholesterol and they offboard what we'll call old or duddy cholesterol. And so the cholesterol from the liver going to the cells, as I mentioned before, is the LDL, and the rubbish cholesterol going the other way is called HDL. It's as simple as that. Now, to come along and to say that the LDL cholesterol, the one going from the liver to the extremities, to all the cells, is the supposed bad cholesterol, is borderline insanity, because that's the cholesterol the cells need. If we were able to truncate that and cut it off completely, we wouldn't be here today. We'd be dead. So how we can call that, from a scientific point of view, as being a bad cholesterol, is absurd. So now, of course, we've moved on the discussion. You hear people saying, oh, well, it's actually not the LDL, HDL. It's actually VLDL, the very low density lipoproteins, which is trying to shift the discussion a little bit further along. In the meantime, your average a person is confused and believes there's actually a lot of science behind it. There's no science behind it at all. We've gone from total cholesterol over the years to saying, oh no, it's actually LDL, HDL. Oh no, it's not really that at all. The reality is that cholesterol, in its various forms, is essential to the human body. We shouldn't fear it. If we take it too low, we'll get very, very sick. And I think it's really important that we have more respect for cholesterol than the population has today. So we'll leave it at that for today, but I just wanted to give you my views. And these views, by the way, they're not coming from me myself. I'm just conveying the research done by some really wise people. And if you do some of your own research in this subject, you'll see that what I'm talking about is substantiated. Okay, see you at the next show.